put a fighter in your corner.
And welcome once again to the Walton Law Firm Show, where Trip Walton and I will be rapping to you today, since I was just rapping before we came on. You got any raps you'd like to start out with this show?
I've never been able to rap.
You never been able to rap?
I've been a rapper. I've unwrapped some Christmas presents.
I got you. I bet you have.
And
And you had a lot of people unwrap some presents from you, and they're still unwrapping them. That's a story for another day. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
Great. Fall weather here, cool.
Okay.
Went to the beach this past weekend. You know, we had a god-awful storm down there in Florida.
Right.
We're going to talk about that, where you can, if you want to help them, you can.
Okay.
But we went down. We'd already planned a weekend vacation, Friday through Monday, at the Watercolor, seaside area.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. No damage whatsoever. It's just weird.
What part of Florida was that?
The Panhandle.
Panhandle. Okay.
You know, you got Panama City,
Right.
Seaside, Watercolor, Sandusky, and Destin.
That's right. That's what I thought. It was over in that area. Yeah.
And the beaches were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good bit of people there. You know, pretty crowded.
Okay.
So anyway,
Hopefully I'll be able to do a beach trip in the next couple of months. But it has to be hot enough where I can get in the ocean. I do not want to sit on the beach and not get in the ocean.
I didn't go on the beach.
You didn't?
I go down there to eat and drink.
And be merry.
That's right.
Okay. Speaking of eat and
Of course,
drink.
I also look like a pumpkin because I've gained so much weight.
Well, it's October. It's time to look like a pumpkin.
Well,
Going into fall.
it
you know
is
what I'm saying?
Halloween, but I gotta tighten it up.
Tighten it up. Okay.
Do
Personal
the
trainer.
tighten up.
Get back on the personal
Do the
trainer
tighten
roll.
up.
Tighten up. It's another song. But anyway, updates about the show you want to share with us about how we'll be filming going forward?
Yeah, we're going to start doing every other week instead of every week. I've gotten so busy at work, and I had to hire new lawyers to replace the 2 or 3 that have left over the last 2 or 3 years. So I've got like well over 100 car wrecks and truck wrecks I'm working on, and probably 85 to 95 criminal cases. So
Pretty busy.
I got to quit being the TV star and go back to work a little bit.
I got you.
But we love it. We love the questions. We love the audience. So we're going to keep on doing it, just not as often.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
But anyway, I did want to talk again about sending prayers out to those who were impacted by the terrible hurricane that went
Yes.
through Florida and is still up on the Virginia, I think the Virginia Beach area right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get involved, you can go to www.floridadisasterfund.org or text disaster to TO 20222. That's
20222.
disaster to 20222, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You can also sign up for volunteer opportunities at that website. The American Red Cross is accepting donations. United Way is helping out, and care.org you can go to. But, you know, always be careful who you give your money to. Make
Yes.
sure you go with the normal emergency team, people that you know and love,
Right.
that are out there all the time.
Right.
All right, let's talk a little bit about college football.
Yeah.
Auburn?
I had no expectation, so I'm okay. Go
I
ahead and
thought
talk
they did.
about Auburn.
I thought they did good. I mean, I didn't expect them to do as well as they did. I mean,
Well, that too.
when you're an Auburn person, you go into a game expecting to lose sometimes, and
Yeah.
I hate it, but that's why
I guess.
we grew up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Georgia is a sad state. They cannot get their stuff together. I don't know what's wrong with those people.
But you know what's sad about that? They're going to get it together this Saturday.
Well,
'Cause they got Auburn.
they got Auburn. But, you know, if Auburn can even make a game out of it, they might could have a game with the way they're playing. I mean, I thought their quarterback was a shoe-in after week one for the
it just seems
Heisman.
like
Now,
it-
he's
now-
not in the list. He's not even on the list.
He's not on the list. It's on the
They've
list.
just gone to hell in a handbasket.
True.
So I don't know what's going on with them. And then Alabama may have lost their first-string quarterback, but who cares? I mean,
It's somebody always waiting in the wings
that's the problem with Alabama.
at Alabama.
Somebody goes down, you got to hold your breath because somebody's going to come in there and it's going to go. And that guy can roll.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to get in his way.
I mean, world-class speed.
World class. And he looks like he's my size. He's at least
He's
6'3", 6'4".
He's a big
like
fella.
kid.
And he
Yeah.
can move.
So high school football real quickly. Congratulations to Auburn High School. They're still undefeated. They're number 1 in the state in 7A, which is the biggest of the biggest boys. Mm-hmm. They beat their crosstown rival Opelika this week pretty handily, 51-29. Lochapoka, still undefeated, 6-0.
The Polka.
Man. Lee Scott Academy, still undefeated, 6-0. They beat Autauga 42-0. Central High School of Phoenix City beat Dothan 35-28. Lafayette beat Horseshoe Bend 26-8. Troup County High defeated North Clayton in a shutout 63-0.
Yeah, we played them Friday.
And LaGrange beat Riverdale 28-14.
There you go.
There you have it.
All right.
Now let's talk a little motivation.
Motivate them, Trip.
And we've touched on this before, but I want to. It's good, so
Okay.
I want to go over it. The greatest ability that God has given mankind over animals is the ability to choose.
Choose. Mm-hmm.
I almost forgot what I was going to say. The ability to choose. It's got to be the ability to think and talk too. But anyway, God has given mankind over animals is the ability to choose. A dog cannot be anything but a dog.
Mm-hmm.
A cat cannot be anything but a cat.
Meow.
But a human being has the power to choose. That's what separates us.
That's right.
You can choose happiness, you can choose your well-being, you can choose to do for your family, you can choose your health and wellness, which I'm trying to work on now, and you can choose to be successful. So I want you to think about that, and every day when you get up, before you get going, when you're drinking your coffee, decide what you're going to do that day and what you're going to choose to do to make yourself better or people around you better.
Okay.
And remember, always remember, God gave you the ability to choose. So use it wisely.
Use it wisely. Profound words from the one and only Trip Walton. And now it's time for some.
I got to figure out how to quit eating so much.
You got to.
I got to start choosing. I got to quit choosing everything on the plate.
Okay. All right. All right. So choose to eat lighter.
I'm going to eat lighter, drink less.
Okay. Anyway, that's one. I don't know why that tickled me, but it did. All right. It did. All right, time for our viewer questions. Hey, Miss Ross, Mrs. Ross. This message is for Mr. Trip Walton. And this is from SJ in Lynette, Alabama. No, that's not my nephew, SJ. This is another SJ, because he's only 8, I think. If a police officer comes to your home and asks to search your home, can they do it without a warrant?
If you consent, yes. If you say no, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on a case within the last year out of Rhode Island where a husband and wife got in an argument. They've been married 22 years. They get in an argument. He gets all like husbands will do sometimes. Men can be weak. He goes and gets an unloaded pistol, puts it on the kitchen table. He said, just shoot me. Put me out of my misery. Just go ahead and shoot me. She decides not to shoot him. She goes to a hotel for the night. The next morning she wakes up, she calls Billy Bob at home to see how he's doing. He doesn't answer, so she's afraid. So she called the police, and they went by and met her at the house to do a wellness check. Well, Billy Bob was sitting on the front porch. And he said, I'm fine, I'm not suicidal, I never have been. We had a little argument. I don't need to do anything. They said, well, we want you to go in an ambulance, get checked out with a mental evaluation. He says, okay, but don't take my guns. He said, leave my guns, I got 2 guns in the house, don't take them. They said, we're not going to take your guns. And he went in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he passed the mental evaluation, he was fine. He gets out that afternoon, he goes back home, and guess what?
No.
The police have gone in his house with no warrant and gotten his 2 pistols. And they took them away. And so he called them and went down there to get them and said, you can't have them. So he sued them. Well, the federal district court throws it out. The first appellate court of the first, I can't remember exactly where they're located, but it's a federal appellate court, like we have the 11th Circuit here in Atlanta.
Okay.
I think it's the First Circuit, wherever that is, up north. They uphold the lower court, so it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they unanimously, 9-0, say not no, but hell no. You ain't going in nobody's house for no community service type exception.
Okay. Okay.
Just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the house is the most protected thing we have under the Constitution from unreasonable searches and seizures. It's got to be unreasonable. Anytime you go in the house, unless you're invited or consent, it's unreasonable.
It's unreasonable. Okay.
Now, cars is different. Cars are mobile. There's some looser rules on cars, and they talk about that in that opinion. But you do not have to let anybody search your house. Now, they can go get a search warrant. That's more than a notion. They have to have an affidavit executed by an affiant who has to give them probable cause to get a judge to sign the search warrant. So it's a process they have to go through. So, like I say, if you volunteer, they're in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So don't volunteer, they have to get a warrant.
That's a good one. Okay. All right. Interesting information. All
That's
right.
a good question.
Next question from Anonymous. It's anonymous. I have a question for the trip. If someone posts something bad about my business on a social media site and it got over 1,500 shares and it has hurt my business, plus I can prove it is untrue, can I sue them for defamation or something or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Social media defamation is an all-encompassing term used to describe a false statement, a fact about a third party published to a social media website, platform, app such as Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Social media defamation is often referred to as social media slander or slander on social media. Since social media defamation involves the written, or in this case, posted word, it is considered libel.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the problem with your lawsuit, no matter how good it is, no matter how stupid the statement was and how false it is, are you suing anybody that's got money? Because if you come in to see me, you got to remember the civil side is all about money. The criminal side is all about punishment and somebody losing their liberty. So let's go back to the civil side. You come into me and you say, Tripp, this was said. I can show that on the last 6 months my books have fallen off because we're not making sales. People aren't coming in. There's a lot of chitter chatter about this comment that was made. I say, okay, well, who am I suing? And what do they have? Because if they don't have any money, insurance is most likely not going to cover it.
Cover that, right.
It'd be hard pressed to find a homeowner's coverage that would cover that. Although some would.
Okay.
But the problem is suing somebody who doesn't have the money, because spending $20, $30, $40, $70,000 on a lawsuit, which would have to come out of my pocket, to just get a big verdict and not be able to collect it would not be worth doing. So there's a part to lawsuits that people never think about. That's how are you going to get what you're going to get? How are you going to collect it? Is it even there?
Right.
Is it worth doing?
Interesting. Okay. Next question is from Stephen in LaGrange, and he enjoys watching you as well, Tripp. And I know you all talk a little sports every now and then, but what is your take on the Tua? I'm not going to say his last name. Tagovailoa. I never say it right. What is the take on Tua's situation with the concussion? Should he play so soon?
No, that was ridiculous. And somebody should have given the neuro guy a concussion with a baseball bat upside the head. That was ridiculous. I mean, to sit there and listen to people look at that film and say he fell because of a hurt back, as many times as I've been knocked cuckoo like that, anybody that's ever played the sport can tell you, that had nothing to do with the back. That was a fog he was in. He was going down. He was concussed. And, it's good to see the National Football Players or League Players Association did what they did. I think they actually got the guy fired.
They did. He sure did.
But it's interesting. They should be trying to protect players more, because we know over the history of head injuries, what they do
Lord.
to players. It's just terrible. I'm so glad I didn't play past my freshman year in college. Thank God. Because I didn't know I had a broken neck then. I mean, I had a bad broken neck when I quit after my freshman year. And I didn't realize it I did all my boxing with a broken neck. I didn't realize it until 4 or 5 years later. I had an MRI and they said, you have a compression fracture where you don't have any disc left. You just spine on spine at C5-6 right here. That's why I'm about a half an inch shorter than I used to be. I used to be 6'3", now I'm 6'2".
You starting to laugh at that, and I'm trying not to laugh at
Well,
that.
it's amazing you start swinging.
Wow.
But, yeah, that was ridiculous. That should have never happened.
Did you see the hit he took 4 or 5 days prior to that and got up and couldn't walk?
He couldn't walk. I mean, that was clearly like he was drunk, like he'd been hit with a left hook.
Right.
I mean, it's just like when I used to fight. When I would throw a punch to the head and see their eyes glaze over, well, I knew they weren't there.
Right.
So it's time to go in and finish business.
Okay.
And normally I finish business to the body because I really didn't want
Okay.
to seriously damage somebody.
Yes.
Breaking a rib's one thing.
Right.
Giving somebody a serious concussion is another.
That's another. Yeah.
So I think it was ridiculous. I think the guy who let him back on there should be fired. Of course, the coaches and all are hiding behind him, but anybody who's coached football knows they shouldn't put him back out there.
Right.
But anyway, they fired somebody, and they're going to change protocol. Hopefully it'll help. But that was absolutely ridiculous.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you.
And thanks for asking that question. It's a very good question. All these questions are good.
They're great. Great. And we have I think we had her before, signed Nosy Nancy. And that sounds familiar.
What's Nosy Nancy want to know this time?
She want to know about your billboards, man. I see you are the $15 million lawyer.
$15 million man.
I have always wondered who pays that amount in any case. I mean, do people have $15 million laying around? Unless you Trip Walton, probably. Anyway, answer the question.
Good questions by Nosy Nancy. These are all great questions today. Let's talk about that, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder about that. Most of the time when you see huge settlements like that, which means they actually wrote me a check for $15 million for me and my client, they have insurance way in excess of that.
Yes.
And they are covered for these very reasons. That's why people have insurance, is to come in and pay judgments. So we were fortunate. In that case, the defendant had well over $20 million, so we still didn't rock their bank. It was an agreed upon settlement based upon, different things, factors. It's confidential, so I can't go into the details. But now, let's talk about another situation.
Okay.
Many times we settle lawsuits for, and I tell you, I probably settled 100 or more death cases for $25,000 because that's all the defendant had in insurance. Mm-hmm. So you see the other side of that. Or we settled for zero. I had an 18-wheeler death case up here in LaGrange years ago where a tractor trailer ran a stoplight and killed my 15 or 16-year-old kid. They had let their policy lapse. So they had $1 million or $2 million, I can't remember. It was a small trucking company up here. They let their policy lapse, so I got to tell mom and dad, not only have you lost the love of your life, but this company is not responsible enough to have the insurance paid. So you see that kind of stuff too. But yeah, that's another reason you don't see that many suits against individuals, like we talked about a little bit earlier in the show on the potential libel slander on the internet about the business. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm going to sue somebody and spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, I need to be recovering, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And most people don't have that kind of money. Right. And also, they file bankruptcy. A lot of my clients come in and they say, well, I hear what you're saying about settling for $25,000, but we came to you because you big tamale, and we want more money. And so we want to go over their insurance. Well, all they got to do is file bankruptcy. Okay. And it zeroes you out. Okay. So you get nothing if they go into bankruptcy. Other than what was already there, the $25,000. So that was another good question, and I am your $15 million man.
That's it, not $6 million, 15. 15. All right, and last question is from Rachel F. She's in LaGrange, and she said, I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie. You're a foodie. Wouldn't you like to be a foodie too? You're a foodie too.
Well,
you said in the middle of the show.
I am.
I love trying different foods. I have a question for the attorney, Trip Walton. Uh-oh. I recently ate at a restaurant and was very ill afterwards, in which I think it was food poisoning. I believe it was from the restaurant, but how can I prove it and get my money back if it happened again?
Well, first of all, most of the time, the place you think you got food poisoning, you didn't.
Okay.
It was a meal 2 or 3 before that one. I had an interesting case one time on a food poisoning case where my guy ate a barbecue sandwich in a grocery store in a small South Alabama town where they sold great barbecue. He got salmonella, almost died. We took the case. I got a phone call, an anonymous phone call from a fella who said that the Alabama Department of Agriculture had been down there and cleaned out the store because of all the rotten meat. And he had photographs he was willing to sell me or give me. I said, well, I can't buy stuff from you. That's just not right. Mm-hmm. But if you want to meet with me and show me what you got, I'd be glad to meet with you if you want to help out my client. So I went and met with the guy. He had photographs, and these guys, it was great. They were in white suits with hoodies, like masks, like beekeeper masks, taking the rotten meat out of the store, put it in buggies and pushing it out to the dumpster and dumping it. And we had tons of pictures of all this. So then we called the Department of Agriculture in Montgomery, and they had a file on it because they're the ones who did it because all the rotten. So then my expert, I can't remember where the food expert, might have been UAB, but then he was going to cost me about $40,000 for the long haul. So he looked at just the initial setup and he said, okay, he ate the sandwich and then he was sick like within 3 hours. I said, yeah. He said, no way, it was that store. I said, what you mean? He said, it would take 24 hours for salmonella to set up and hit somebody. Wrong business, really? Wrong store. So I had my case. I had the meat rotten in the freezer. So I wrote the defendant a letter. I said, look, we're bringing in Billy Bob from UAB, our food expert. I got these pictures I need to share with you, and we'll go ahead and settle it now for X amount of dollars. So they said, that's a good idea. So I've had that happen in several cases where my experts would come in and say, ooh, hope you haven't spent a lot of time and money on this case because the stars are not lining up for your client in this case. Okay. And sure enough, we settle the cases because there's risk. There's always risk. Defendant's worried about getting hit. We're worried about spending a lot of money and getting a loss. So anyway, you can sue restaurants. It is extremely difficult to sue, and you surely wouldn't want to just get a free meal. You'd want, you get more than that, your medical expenses and pain and suffering. But they're awfully expensive and awfully hard to prove.
Kind of like the slip and fall.
Sort of like slip and fall.
Okay.
It ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen. Okay. All right.
All right. What we got next?
I guess you got some Bama news.
I did want to.
You want to do the Georgia news, or what?
Was one interesting thing in Alabama. Okay. The inmates at the Alabama Department of Corrections prisons are on strike. Can you believe that?
Inmates are on strike.
I am not kidding you. They're on strike. They're just not going to cook anymore. We're not going to clean anymore. We're not going to do any damn laundry. So I say, don't eat, don't wear any clothes, and live in a nasty house.
Okay.
And then see what you get. Can you believe that? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
That's crazy.
So they're protesting allegedly terrible living conditions, and they say, the feds say that we've got the worst prison system in the world. They came down. The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit back in 2020. One thing they found out, we were at 182% capacity.
182.
And experiencing an excessive amount of rape and killings in the prison system. So the bottom line is they've not only turned it over to the inmates, but the inmates have given it back to them and said, we don't want it.
We don't want it.
We don't love you anymore. Okay, now, you'll be glad to know this. Alabama Supreme Court tells lower courts to stop electronic bingo in 2 counties.
Okay.
No more bingo.
No more bingo.
No more slot machines at Southern Star, Whitehall, or Victoryland casinos.
All right.
I mean, come on.
Come on.
For goodness sakes. Let the people, if they want to waste their money, let them waste.
Let them waste.
I mean, that's what America's all about. What in the world is wrong with our Attorney General? Good Lord, get a job.
Talk to him.
All right, what else we got? Let's see what we got in Georgia. Oh, well, here's something interesting.
Okay.
Alabama Governor Kay Ivey and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp are among 22 governors calling on President Joe Biden, of course he don't remember who he is anymore, but they're calling on him anyway, to withdraw his student loan forgiveness plan. Let me tell you what this would affect. Approximately 632,000 Alabama residents owe an average of $37,000 in federal student loans totaling more than 24 billion, and more than 1.6 million Georgians owe an average of 42,000 in student loans totaling 66 billion. So both Kay and Brian want those people to eat that.
Eat that.
And who knows? I mean,
Eat it up.
If they don't eat it, I do.
Exactly.
So
So somebody got to eat.
somebody's got to eat.
All right, we got one more minute, Trip.
Well, let's don't go visit the prison system. Let's make that decision right now.
We'll
We're
make it-
not going to visit.
We're not going to visit the prison system. Okay.
because
okay.
they're not going to have clothes on. It's not
Exactly.
going to be clean, and they're not going to fix any dinner. And I'm
Heck
just
no,
not
we
going
won't
to
go.
take it.
Heck no, we won't go.
I'm not going to take it standing up.
We're not going to take it. Anyway, if they want to get in contact with you and utilize your
They
services,
can't find me.
I believe they can. You playing
Yeah,
hide
they
and go
can.
seek.
Yeah, they can.
All right, how can they find you?
334-321-3000. Or if you're special, you can call me on my cell phone at 334-524-5240. Anyway, we enjoy it. Keep the questions coming. We love them. And have a good weekend.
Enjoyed the show. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
We don't start the fight, we finish it.
Car accident, DUI, wrongful death? Contact the Walton Law Firm, 334-321-3000.